communicated over the period. Started off March ending, now we've ended at May, we're told. Even that, we don't really know if that is really a concrete assurance that you're giving us. What's really the confusion?
Again, I think that's a very, very important question. So let's start with the timelines. The very first timeline that was mentioned from July last year was that we expected to use 6 months to complete negotiations for a staff level agreement, so that by the end of the year, we'll have a staff level agreement. I remember, and I think if I recall, I was in your studios on one of these shows when questions were coming in, and a lot of commentary was coming into the fact that it is not possible to conclude a staff level agreement within 6 months. To the glory of God, the Republic of Ghana was able to conclude the staff level agreement before 31st December last year. So that timeline was not missed. The second timeline that was given was that having concluded the staff level agreement, we need to complete the prior actions so that our agreement can be taken to the IMF board for board approval by the end of March. Now, those prior actions are not actions that the government or the executive branch so moto can execute. The government on its own cannot finish all of those prior actions. You need other people to come together to work with you to meet those prior actions. One of those prior actions, for example, was about the passage of some 3 revenue bills in Parliament. And you know that no matter how the executive branch pushes through, you will still need the collaboration of Parliament to be able to pass those, especially in a Parliament where you have a number of, say, 136 to 138. You need, for example, to put in place a debt restructuring program, domestic and external. The domestic may be within your contemplation, but you recall that you cannot force anybody. It's a voluntary exercise that people have to participate in. And if you are not getting the participation and you're having to roll down the dates some more, give extensions, it affects the timeline that you have given. You have external creditors that you have to talk to, those in the Paris Club and those outside the Paris Club, China, India, Saudi Arabia, etc. All of that is not exactly within your domain. But be that as it may, we give ourselves a timeline of by the end of March. We should have been able to finish with these prior actions so that we'll be ready to get board approval. Today is the 16th of April, if I'm correct. That's about 2 weeks since March ended. So it is that timeline that has not materialized at this point in time. Thankfully, all of that work has now been completed. And if you heard the IMF managing director herself, and I think you played her insert, she is clear in her mind that Ghana has fulfilled what we need to fulfill and that they can now go to the board and get us board approval. And to quote her, she said, stay tuned and I think keep hope alive or something.
But that also